everyone, and welcome back to another WebDev lesson. In today's lesson, I know it's quick, but we're actually moving on to a brand new data structure in JavaScript. We're moving on to something called an object. So we've been talking about arrays for the past two videos, and yes, it's we're moving very quickly, but we're actually going to move into a brand new structure today called objects. So objects are really cool. They let you do some really neat stuff with your data that you might be a little bit limited to with an array, but they both have their purposes. They both serve different cases, different edge cases in your code, where sometimes you might find an array works really well here. Other times you'll find, oh, an object actually works even better. But again, you don't know which one you're going to need until you get into the problem. So it's a good thing to know both. Both are very useful. Both are used all over the place. So let's go ahead and move into objects. All right, so let's start talking about JavaScript objects. So an object in JavaScript looks a little bit different from an array. In an array in JavaScript, you have this kind of a shape where you can have a string here, you can have a number, you can have another array, you can have a couple different things in there, right? In an object, rather than having hard brackets, first of all, rather than having hard brackets, we're going to have curly brackets, right? So this is what an object would look like, an empty object, right? And rather than, excuse me, rather than just having, like, say, a string, right, or having, my IDE is trying to help me out, but it's not being very helpful right now. Rather than having something like a string here, right, or a number here, right, you can see my IDE is giving me a problem. That's not the way that we do things with objects. Instead, what we'll do is we have something called a key value pair, and that's a good thing to remember. Objects consist of key value, good grief, can't type, key value pairs. Okay? And here's a demonstration. Ordinarily, your key might be a string, so we might say key 1. And then we'll give this key 1 a value. And let's say key 1 is equal to a number, right? So here's what we're going to do. Let's talk about this relationship of key value pairs. We're going to say var obj equals an object, right? And we'll have here, let's say key 1. And then we have, let's assign it a numerical value, a number, right? And so now what we can do is we can actually go here and we can say console log key1, obj.key1. And now let's run that code and see what it gives us. There, so I just ran my code, and as you can see, this gives me number 1. Now what if I were to replace this? If I were to give this a string value, this is the first value of the first key in this object, right? And now let's run it again, and you can see we get our string. So this is how we would reference our values on an object. We would reference it using our key. So what we can do is we can say, let's say this is animals, right? And we might want to look up a cow. Okay, and we say our cow is equal to the string cow, right? Let's say pig is equal to pig. And then let's say we wanted to have a turtle, and we set it to turtle, right? So now we can say console.log animals.pig, right? And what we're left with, what we get is pig, the string pig, right? Now, why is this useful, right? I mean, we could just probably type out string pig, and that would make it easier if we just said pig, right? That gives us the same thing. Well, in this particular case, if I wanted to change something in an object, right? if I wanted to keep a list of this, and later on we'll talk about lists and actually looping over lists, right? But what if I had a database somewhere, or what if I had a user who wanted to add things to this object, right? Well, what if I had a website that kept track of all animals that the user types into the website, right, and stores it somewhere? This is a good way of storing that, right? Because we could say, what are they trying to type in? Well, they're trying to type in a turtle, right? And we would then assign that to the string version of that turtle. So that then if we wanted to use it later, we could do that. So let's say, for example, instead of making this a string, which doesn't make it seem very useful, we're going to make this another object. And what we're going to do here is we're going to say, we're going to make some keys and give them some values. So we're going to say name is pig, right? And then we're going to say sound, or sound, right? Pretty ridiculous, but we'll do that. And we'll say action maybe is walk, right? And what we could do is we could actually make these functions, right? So for this particular one, we might make this a function. So if we were to go out here and we were to say var walk is a function that makes the pig walk. We won't write the code for that now. Makes pig walk. Then we could in here say walk, right? So it references that function. And then later on, actually, let's make this return a string moved forward by walking. That way we know it did something. And now what we can say is animals.pig.action. All right, and what we're going to do is we're going to run this as if it were a function, because here we say animals.pig and we say action, and then we're going to invoke the action function, which is the walk, right? So we're going to play, and there it is, moved forward by walking. So as you can see, this makes a lot of sense, right? We go into animals, then we go into pig, and we invoke the action on that pig, right? We could say something like, we could say something like this, where we do, maybe we could say name. Actually, let's do it this way. Let's do name, and we'll say, right, animals dot pig dot name, and then we'll say we'll say something like sound is animals dot pig dot sound, right? And now we can reference all those different things in a way that makes sense, right? So we'll run this, and there we go. Name, pig, sound, oink. And then we could do something like, this would actually make more sense, as if we said action results resulted in, and then we in here run this code, right? Just like that. And now we say run, and there we go. Name is pig, sound is oink, action resulted in, move forward by walking. And so that is our pig right there. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to build out the rest of these. All right, so I finished filling these out. And so now pig has properties, and cow has properties, and turtle has properties that we can reference here, right? So pig we've seen. Cow, I've given it some other things, so it can now walk, and it can also produce milk. So here I've altered the walk function just to make it a little shorter. And so now we have the produce milk function, and I have a turtle. I don't know what sound they make right now, or at least how to write it down, so I just said unknown, which is kind of ominous now that I think about it, but oh well. So what we're gonna do is let's actually just alter this and make this cow, right? And so now we can do the same thing, cow name, cow sound, because the shape of our data lets us do that. And let's give our cow an action, and we're gonna say action dot milk, right? And we're gonna run the milk action. And so now, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna make this a little simpler. I'm gonna make var current animal, and I'm gonna make this animals dot cow. So now I'm gonna swap this out for current animal. So now I can say current animal dot name, and it's actually referencing animals dot cow dot name. So hopefully we're still clear on that. So now let's run this code, and you can see name is cow, sound is moo, action resulted in milk, right? And that's what that returned. Let's see, yes, okay, cool. And we can also say action walk, and what that does is we say action here, and then we use the walk. This is actually the walk method, or the walk function that we are running from cow. So there we go, walked forward, and so on. Now we can change our current animal to turtle, right? And when we run this code, we see sound turtle, oh, I'm sorry, name turtle, sound unknown, and then action resulted in walk forward. So there you have it. That is an example of some stuff you can do with this, with a JavaScript object. So we talked about key value pairs, we talked about how you would reference that data. One thing we didn't talk about in this video is how you would actually add data to it. So let's just do that right now. Let's say we say, it's actually very easy. We say animals dot cow. Actually, let's say turtle dot sound. Let's not reference. We can change its sound. So if I suddenly remembered, oh wait, it makes a munchy sound, right? So it says munchy. That's the sound. So if I did do that, then what I could do is I could run this code, and you would see sound is munchy, right? But what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say animals. Actually, let's do current animal dot okay, we're gonna get crazy here. We're gonna give them powers, and let's say that our turtle can fly, because why not? Now let's console log our power, right? And we'll say this is this animal's power, and we'll say current animal dot power, right? And so now let's run this code again, and you can see it has fly. All right, so here's something you should know. Every time you go to run this code the way I'm running it now, we redefine what animals is equal to, right? So before I ran this code again, animals was equal to this object, right? And turtle had a power of fly. But notice I've run this code again while commenting this code with this out. Now it redefines what animal is equal to, which is just this object, and turtle does no longer has this power of fly. So if I try to look for its power, it's undefined. It doesn't have one right now. It's a powerless turtle, unfortunately. So let's give it its power back. So we'll just run this again, and now you can see that since we ran it, right, it builds this object, then it sets our variable, then it changes the power of our current animal, which is set to turtle, to fly, all right? And now this is no longer undefined. Now, if I were to change current animal to cow, right, and I were to run the same code, we should see that we have cow, moo, walk forward, and power is fly because the current animal is set to cow. So what we're gonna do is let's first log out. Oh, you know what? I'm in VS Code and it's actually a little hard to see this. I'll try it. what's the worst that could happen? Let's try console logging the entire object. And yeah, so it doesn't actually, unfortunately, it doesn't show us. But you can see we have pig, then we have cow, and you can see that all of these properties are assigned to different things. So pig is an object, cow is an object, and turtle is an object. And that coincides with what we'd expect to see, right? We'd see pig is an object, cow is an object, right? And turtle is an object. All right, you guys made it through the video. Nice work. That was a lot of stuff to cover. We talked all about objects in great length. We talked about how they're different from arrays, how they have key value pairs. Then we kind of built out our own animal system. I honestly don't know where this comes from, I swear. But that was the first thing on my mind, so I just kind of grabbed it. So we built out an animals object, and that contains several different animals and examples of different properties we could give them. We gave them a name, a sound. Excuse me, we gave them actions, they could move, we gave them power, which, again, I have no idea where this is coming from. And we just had some fun messing around with that kind of stuff. So I hope you were able to follow along, and I hope a lot of that made sense, and that was kind of a fun example. What you're going to do now is you're just going to go ahead and move on to the exercise below this video, and we will see you in the next video. Good luck.